that as the industry develops from a past in which it was relying on $100+ a barrel oil into a new normal where that's no longer a reality, it's starting to really reevaluate what projects it needs to put in place across the region and how it's going to structure and deliver and pay for those projects. And that's all in the context of a region which has a huge amount of demographic and social challenges arising from its very young and largely fast-growing youthful population, which are putting a lot of stress on the existing infrastructure. So the old days of having a few mega projects funded by high frothy revenues from oil are kind of past us really, and we're now into a new world in which we need to deliver real infrastructure for the people of the region, and to do so in a more constrained fiscal environment. I think that's pushing regional governments towards looking at new structures like PPP. I think if you look around the region at the moment, we're at a historic low really. There's almost no projects in procurement at the moment. So in a way that's quite worrying. But actually, if you look forward, the pipeline's incredibly strong. And the interesting bit in the pipeline is the deals which got PPP after them, and that's a high percentage, and that's a real change compared to say 5 years ago, or maybe even less actually, where most projects were being procured directly and by traditional means. So things like the Kuwait National Railroad, which has been on the stocks for some time, it would be great to see that coming to market in Q3 18. Projects in Saudi. Saudi is the centre of a lot of the growth of the market it's going to see over the next few years. So the 4 metro projects that are being put into the market there, all as PPP in Dammam, in Jeddah, Medina and Makkah, and also the joining of SAR and SRO under the PTA, producing a whole series of deals, including Yanbu, Jeddah, Riyadh to Riyadh link, the Saudi land bridge and others. So lots to shoot for, particularly if you're into PPP. I think that when you're moving from one form of procurement to another, as this region now is, going from traditional procurement funded by government revenues into more structured deals using private capital, that does create some challenges that are potentially quite difficult to overcome. Not uniquely difficult for this region, it's just the reality of that for everyone. And I think that people tend to focus on things like reforms like a new PPP law. So Saudi is doing that at the moment. Kuwait has a PPP law. Oman is doing one. Dubai has one, and the UAE is thinking about one. And I think that's an important development for moving from one procurement methodology to another. Probably the bigger challenge actually is not writing a new law, it's changing the mindset and the education of the people who be procuring and implementing it at the ministerial level. And there's a whole body of people across the GCC working for different ministries who have been doing these projects in a completely different way for years. So changing that and the way that they do that going forward is going to take some time. So I think that we're in a slight transitional phase at the moment where the market needs to be patient that that change is happening, because I think it is happening, and once it has, we'll start to see this flow of projects coming forward. It's hugely important because the industry needs to come together to discuss these challenges and to thrash out how we're going to solve them going forward. Whether that's your governments or consultants, operators, contractors, they all have a point of view, or indeed financiers under a PPP structure world. They all have a point of view and their own needs that need to be addressed to make sure that these projects move forward. So Terrapin provide a really useful service in allowing a forum for everyone to come together and to not just hear the latest news, but also input into that and help steer, in some cases, government policy, but certainly industry sentiment towards the right outcome.